Good morning, y'all, and welcome to a premiere. We're doing a premiere today for the 10 at 10 for May 17th of 2022. So get ready, we've got some great plants coming to you. We love doing these premieres. They always air at 9 a.m. the day of the 10 at 10. So we're at 9 a.m. Eastern when this airs, 10 a.m. Eastern. These plants are gonna be live on Mr. Maple and a lot more.
We greatly appreciate you watching this video. I'm Tim, it's my brother Matt, and we've got an awesome assortment of trees for you today. If you want to learn about the full assortment that's getting listed today at 10 a.m., make sure you sign up for our weekly emails on MrMaple.com. When you sign up for that weekly email, when you go to MrMaple.com, a little pop-up will come up, put your email in there. You'll get an email at 9 a.m. that tells you all the trees that are getting listed on today, so you can get some time to study them before that 10 a.m. hits, because when that 10 a.m. hits, you got to check out and purchase quick because they often sell out really quickly.
Now we've got some excellent sizes for you. These sizes are indicative of May 2022. If you're watching this a year from now, they may be slightly larger, they may be slightly smaller, but this is very similar to what we offer right now in May of 2022 for each cultivar.
Now I'd say a lot of these 1 gallons we're going to be listing on this 10 at 10 are quite large. A lot of these, most nurseries are taking pot up to a 3 gallon to let them fill out. They've got some really good sizes on these 1 gallon starting today. And we'll start out today first with some tall orange dreams.
Yeah, these are an awesome plant. Orange Dream is an introduction from Ghirardelli Nursery in Italy. They're noted for having a very soft yellow in the early spring with some pink new growth. Giving this one a little more early morning sun, you can actually get some orange shades on it in the spring, but a great classic orange in the fall as well.
Yeah, make sure to give this some protection from the hot afternoon sun like Matt talked about. But this is one of the ones that just comes out chartreuse and gets almost like a blonde, light yellow blushing across this during the summer. And if you're getting some burn or some scald on this, it may be a plant getting established or maybe getting too much sun, so keep that in mind. But this makes a nice tree with a very dense shape, selection by Fratelli Ghirardelli in Italy. And this is just one of the most electric yellows. I mean, just that bright, bright, bright yellow.
Yeah, that nursery introduced Jordan and Summer Gold. A lot of great yellows from them, and no exception here. This is an awesome yellow Japanese maple. Probably with a little bit of Circinatum influence. It might be a palmatum X Circinatum to get to some of those really unique colors, but definitely a showstopper and one that sells out pretty quickly for us too. It is one that's highly sought after for those shades. I love it in the early spring when it's at that soft faded yellow with a little bit of pink new growth. I think that's when it's just so cool. You definitely want to protect that from the late day sun. This one works zones 5 through 9. I definitely recommend more late day shade for this one.
Great yellow to add out in the landscape. You know how I love those yellows. Fantastic tree that I think a lot of people, it becomes one of their favorites when you sight that tree right in your landscape because it's such a bright yellow throughout almost the entire spring, summer, and then when you go to the fall, you can get some really nice fall colors out of it as well.
Another one that's heavily requested coming back in stock here. This is Acer palmatum dissectum Hana matoi. Now, Hana matoi is a variegated lace leaf with some bright pink on dark red variegation. It's an awesome plant, some good sizes in these two. Again, like Tim was saying, these could easily go into 2s or 3s right now, but we want to go ahead and ship these out and get these out to you in our 1 gallon sizes. Excellent plant.
A nice selection by Yataka Tanaka at Tsukasa Maple in Japan. This is such an amazing electrifying plant. It's probably one of the most amazing, to me, variegated lace leaves. For this style of variegation, it really stands out. If you give it some sunlight, you can really get some of that red on pink variegation. If you give this more shade, you often get more greens in this plant, and green, red, and bronzes. Give it some sunlight in most zones, 8A, 6, 7, and 5, you're going to really pick up those red colors, which is really what helps this plant show off and distinguish itself from other cultivars like Toyama Nishiki or Goshiki Shidari.
I've got mine in full sun here in zone 6B, and it is distinctively pink on red. Like Tim was saying, if I'd have the same plant in heavy shade here, you're going to be more pink, white, and green during the same time frame. So you can change the colors a good bit by the sunlight. I've seen it do pretty well in full late day sun up to zone 8. So you can actually push this one for a variegated plant in zone 8. And zone 9, definitely going to need late day shade in zone 9. A plant that works zones 5 through 9 though in the ground. In zone 5, you're definitely going to have to protect this one in the pot during the winter. But an excellent plant. I love this one. It was one we went in search of the name for a long time. We have a whole video on Hana matoi. I'll briefly say that Tanaka-san was so kind to go through the description of this with us, and it's kind of a cool thing. Like during the Edo period in Japan, the firefighters were like the hero to the samurai. They were like the coolest of cool guys, right? Because fire was such a big issue, and these were the heroes of heroes among that time. And a matoi is a tool that a firefighter would use to help put out the fire. It's this large brush, and a hana is a flower. So it's a flower matoi, and it has that hana matoi, and just a really cool way to look at it. Something you wouldn't notice necessarily culturally as an American unless you had it explained to you from someone in Japan. And that was what we loved about sitting down with Tanaka-san and getting some of that rich history of what a hana matoi actually is. Now those matois may be used as a totem. They also may be used as a tool. I'm not quite certain on that. It may be a tool that was used that carried in front of the firefighters to announce their entrance, but it also may have been a tool used in the actual firefighting. So if you know the difference in those two things, let us know. But certainly a symbol of those ancient firefighters that were kind of the heroes to the samurai even during the Edo period.
And we also have the hana matoi today in both the 3-gallon size and the 1-gallon size. So this is an example of the 3-gallon size that we've got on the hana matois. Really good sizes on those as well.
Excellently variegated too.
Yeah, don't wait on these. They don't last very long on Mr. Maple for sure, but really good sizes.
These are just starting to leaf out too.
Yeah, so next up we've got Acer circinatum, and this is a nice little witch's broom called Baby Buttons. Makes it just a nice little dwarf rounded habit. It was a selection by the Buckholtz Nursery, part of the Floral Wonder series, and from Floral Wonder Arboretum. And this is just a very dense dwarf Acer circinatum of the Pacific, native to the Pacific Northwest, the vine maple.
Yeah, I can't think of this plant without thinking of our friend Dennis Dodge, the late Dennis Dodge. He was always an interesting guy. When you went and visited him, it would be a nurseryman. He didn't necessarily sell us what he had in stock. You kind of took him a gift and you left with a gift. And in my gift bag of boxes, I received a Baby Buttons from him. So when I think about Baby Buttons, I think about the late Dennis Dodge. Certainly if you're conifer people watching this video in the Conifer Society, you probably know who Dennis Dodge was. Really interesting, fascinating guy. Didn't leave his house a lot, but could find any plant in the world. And he gifted us a Baby Buttons many, many years ago. It's probably like 2011 or something when I went up there and got one of these from him, but very fun.
A little known fact about these is people actually believe this is one of the rank symbols. Instead of oak leaf, they often call it an oak leaf, but the shape of it is the shape of a Acer circinatum leaf. And then when you start going and digging into the history behind our Acer circinatum, it was labeled Acer circinatum during the Lewis and Clark expedition. That's when Westerners found Acer circinatum in the Pacific Northwest and saw it just going in some amazing fall colors. And we had like the privilege of going to Mount St. Helens around that area during fall with Sue Wegriff and the Maple Society on a post tour, and really got to see Acer circinatum in its fall color. And that's what I think about this.
Yeah. Another little trivia fact for Acer circinatum, I don't know of another cultivar in section palmata besides palmatum that has witch's brooms on it. You don't often find those in shirosawinums or japonicums. Acer palmatum and Acer circinatum. If you can think of another one in the comment section below, you'll win a prize, because I can't even think of a thing outside. Now, there's certainly some outside of section palmata. That's easy. But in section palmata, I think palmatums and circinatums are the only brooms
that we know of so far.
Now, when you get that awesome japonicum broom, you call Mr. Maple. We'll be ready to graft that one for sure. So next up on the table, we have another fun one we can't keep in stock fast enough. This is Acer palmatum Chantilly Lace. We've got a full video on this one as well, so go celebrate that full Mr. Maple catalog. If you get the Office Space reference there, we celebrate the full collection. Go check out that video. Awesome plant. This is another Dick Wolf introduction. We did a whole video on Dick Wolf as well in Red Maple Nurseries. Chantilly Lace though, excellent pink, early spring pink, fading to a light green with bright pink new growth.
I love this plant for that color change. It keeps pushing off across during the summer. The spring color is awesome, the summer color is awesome, and really some bright fuchsia red fall color that's just out of this world. Maybe like a fuchsia orange. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
And we talked about this when Tova Martin came to the article on our nursery.
Yeah.
And it got featured in, was it Home and Gardens? Or Better
so.
Homes and Gardens or one of those one of the ones she writes for, and it
Country
was
Gardens.
Country Gardens. There we go. It was electric, and people have been dying for it ever since. And every time we list it, we can't keep it in
we're
stock.
probably actually messing up putting this on the 10 at 10 this week. We still have 2 weeks to go to open house. And whenever people come to open house, they tour Maplestone Arboretum. And everybody asks for Chantilly Lace because the one at the back of my uncle's property, there's one right there at the back of his garden tour. And whenever people see that one, whenever people see that one, they're like, they come immediately back to the nursery. They go, hey, I saw that one. I want a Chantilly Lace. You know, a little pro tip for this one, early morning sun is going to give you your best colors. If you can get some sun on this one up to zone 8, that sun's going to pick up those colors. It's going to give you a lot of bright pink new growth flushes. So it's actually pretty heat tolerant up to zone 8. Zone 9, definitely shade in zone 9. But if you can give this one a little bit of morning sun at least, you're going to pick up those pink colors.
I love the lace leaves like this one. That's not really a red. It's not really a green. It gives you a little bit of best of both worlds and gives you a lot of color contrast throughout the season. I mean, that's why people love maples, is the change throughout the seasons. And this one definitely constantly gives you something, some color that's really unique and really different.
Yeah, for sure.
So next up, we've got a classic reticulated. One of the first reticulated types that's actually recorded in literature is Aka Shikaratsu Sawa. And it's a mouthful to say. I believe it's supposed to poetically mean red snipes flying from the swamp in the morning.
Yeah, it's like that crane in the early morning sun.
Deep red is Aka.
And yeah, a lot of the older Japanese cultivars actually have poetry that goes along with them. And that 1700s list, all those trees actually have typically a poem that matches that. And Aka Shikaratsu Sawa, you know, it's kind of that crane in the morning sky. It's kind of, you know, to paraphrase that, what it is. Awesome reticulated tree though. It's got that green veining over top of that red coloration. It really gives it something extra on this one. Some great sizes in these 1 gallons right now. You want to give this one some late day shade for its best colors. If you can give it some late day shade and morning sun, you're going to have the brighter reds with the more reticulated, holding that color later into the summer. Again, another plant that's going to work zones 5 through 9. I reiterate with every one of our Japanese maples, good drainage is perfect for the siding. You want to make sure they have really good drainage. But
I have some friends near Atlanta though that are growing this in full sun and it's doing fantastic, which is super surprising for a variegated reticulated type to be able to handle that much sun. This is
it definitely is on the upper scale for the full sun for the variegated reticulation.
The thing I like about these, when you let them grow to their natural shapes, they're not a straight upright tree. Their branches sort of arch out sideways, which gives a very different feel for a landscape and garden rather than your traditional tree shape. It'll start up and then it'll just start having the semi-pendulous effect where it gets some nice width to it and not as much height as it is wide.
For sure. So next up here on the table, we've got Acer palmatum Benikawa. Now, this one's an OG one for our nursery too. We talk sometimes about Dad at the tailgate markets. This was a classic for him. This was his favorite red coral bark type. So a classic, upright, bright red stemming to it. Benikawa is one of the brighter reds and a little smaller than Sengokaku long term, right in that 14 to 15 foot range. It typically grows really well to that kind of 12 to 14 foot range actually, but slows down a good bit there where Sengokaku tends to exceed it in size.
I like Benikawa just because that red bark, the name Benikawa translates as red bark. And that more picked up red on the bark really gives something nice. One of the things I really like about Benikawa though is that it can hold that coral bark color in slightly more shaded locations where Sengokaku you might need a little more sunlight to really peak up those red bark colors. You're still going to get the best bark colors out of any of the coral bark types with some sunlight hitting it. But Benikawa is one of the best ones at holding more interesting bark color in those shadier locations.
Yeah, they like to be slightly abused, so you actually get better color out in the sun than you do in the greenhouse. We list these as zone 6 through 9. You definitely want to give it some late day shade in zone 9, but it is a good candidate for a lot of sun. You can actually put Benikawa in a lot of sun up to zone 8. I've seen it, in the Charleston Battery in full sun, doing excellent. I've got a lot of customers that are looking for a green that can handle some sun. Well, the good thing about Benikawa is you also get that spark of color in the winter when everything's out of leaf. So it kind of gives you a little bit of everything in every season. And very underrated for the coral barks is that fall color. I love this one when you get into fall. It is a rich golden yellow. It's a little more goldeny than a lot, especially in that later part of the fall color. I love it though the most. I definitely take the most photos of this one when it's completely out of leaf. It's one of those Japanese maples I love in that winter garden.
If you've got it snowing outside, you got to run outside and take some photos of your coral barks, because that white background, that it just makes something extra. And I like to always give something like an evergreen backdrop to a lot of the coral barks, or a barn or a building or something, because when you give it something to play off that red color, it gives it extra contrast and helps it really show up.
And excellent sizes in these 1 gallons right now too for these too. The sizes were so good today, we had to get in front of the camera. We couldn't put the trees behind us and get up in front of them. We were too hidden in the backdrop there.
So next up, we've got a plant that we recently did a video on at Dr. Criticos's garden in Flat Rock.
In fact, I'm gonna grab that big old 3 there while we're doing it.
And this is Acer palmatum dissectum filigree. We're talking about a slow-growing, dwarf, weeping, reticulated lace leaf. I mean, this is probably one of the more dwarf lace leaves that we do. It's a very slow grower, but it basically, I think how we described it in the video, you brought it up, like sister ghost meets a lace leaf. And
yeah, it's a small category, that reticulated lace leaf category. There's not many. We thought of 4 that are in it. Definitely check out that video for those 4, but very unique, and that is a variegated, reticulated lace leaf. Now, this one likes some shade. If you can give it shade, you'll carry that reticulation longer into the season for sure.
And Veritree says this is rare in the nursery trade. We try to get numbers in it so it's not as rare as it used to be, but this is one that the collectors love because it's so unique and so different, and that white flecking in the green leaves adds so much, where you see the veins of the leaf, but the leaf itself is very filigree-like. The leaves are extremely serrated and have really like saw-like edges. And as Matt said, it's very fancy.
Right. You can see we have some 1 gallons here that are a great size. If you hold that one up closer. We also have some 3 gallons in this. So we've got some big dogs coming to you this week in these. It's a true dwarf Japanese maple. So I know the 3 gallons won't last long. People will snatch those up, getting a slightly larger size in those. Very easy plant to grow. You will see this tree, we list it as filigree. You'll see it as green filigree, and also sometimes as susei, but the filigree is the OG name on that one as well.
So next up, we've got some huge sizes on Purple Ghost. This is one we can't keep in stock enough. They don't last long, but this one can give you some unreal shades of lavender purple to fuchsia purple, depending on the season. We've got the same tree that we go take photos of, and some years it'll be more lavender purple, some years it'll be more fuchsia purple. And Purple Ghost was probably one of our most popular selections of the Ghost series.
It's probably the most highly sought after. This and amber, they're always, in high demand. Go watch our video on Purple Ghost. We got a great video on that one too. We were joking the other day that we might have covered almost the full first edition in video format.
We've got a lot to go still.
With our own talk, but we're going to go through and maybe make a little checklist and see what we still have to do there on that first edition. I bet we're getting pretty close, but we're always adding new and interesting things we've introduced as well. But Purple Ghost, classic Japanese maple. If you're watching our channel, you know this one. It's a great purple in the landscape. You've seen our blue Japanese maples are fake. Purple ones are real. Go check that out as well. But the purple Japanese maple certainly adds something to the landscape, and Purple Ghost, probably the most famous amongst those for sure.
Next up, we've got another ghost right beside of it.
Yep. Oh, so we blow away here.
Acer palmatum sister ghost. And we just got some really good sizes on these right now. Some really large 1 gallons that just have some really nice reticulation, some good yellow fall color. And this is just one of those classic members of the Ghost series that, again, we can't keep in stock because it's so awesome and so amazing that it's starting to become so popular that it's just hard to keep our hands on.
Yeah, we'll try to do a full Ghost series video at some point. If not, probably on the podcast, we'll do a deep dive and discuss the whole Ghost series, the OG version of it. But Sister Ghost, classic. I mean, it's got that heavily reticulated veining. It's also got a very ruffled edge to it. Just a very regal appearance there in the landscape. If you're watching our channel, you probably know this plant. It's an awesome plant. It's in a lot of gardens. It's highly sought after for a good reason. Paramount amongst those being that variegated style to it. It's really cool with each little reticulated veining to it.
I didn't realize how many reticulated types we've got from Akashikatsusawa,
right.
Filigree,
yeah.
Purple Ghost, Sister Ghost.
Yeah.
I mean, we got some really good reticulated variegated types on this week. that, so you could really, if you've got a shade garden, you can load up with some amazing reticulated
This one
types.
surprisingly handles a good bit of sun, like that Akashigatatsu Sawa as well. I've seen people growing this one in Georgia in a lot of sun. You know, typically early morning sun, late day shade on this one. This one zones 5 through 9, shade in zone 9. But I have seen people push limits with this one, especially in sun. Typically, I say late day shade will hold your spring colors longer into the season with this one. It doesn't tend to burn a lot, but you'll have better color longer.
More dynamic contrast between the creamy white and the green veins.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then last but not least,
I'll hand this beast up to you.
Acer Circinatum Burgundy Jewel. We've got some really good size, 3 gallons. Really starting to show some of that burgundy color there. And
Burgundy Jewel has nice bark too. It's actually kind of a purple bark to it as well, so it stands out good against your shirt probably more than mine, but it is a lavender colored bark as well to it with a dark burgundy foliage. Now the older growth is a little bit more light green, which contrasts well. Another one of those Acer Circinatums, but an amazing specimen here.
And I've seen Acer Circinatum do great in a lot of different circumstances. The key thing is you want to make sure that they get some protection from the hot afternoon sun. They don't like to have a lot of sunlight in places besides really Oregon and the Pacific Northwest. The Pacific Northwest, whenever you're putting this tree out in full sun, I mean, that's really a lot of its native climate. But this is a plant that is really cool and is really different and is clearly...
Great sizes too.
And it's clearly not just an Acer Circinatum, but an Acer Circinatum X. It's obviously a hybrid with the Japanese maple to get that red color, that darker colored bark. And definitely a really cool tree to add to your garden.
It's one of the Circinatums we do more commonly just because we like it a lot, and it's been more durable for us and very fast growing and just all around interesting plant from the foliage to the bark. It just has a little something extra to it. These are our 3 gallon sizes right here that Tim's holding, so really good sizes in these as well. But yeah, this is our 10 at 10. We hope you're interested in some of these plants. They're gonna be going live at 10 a.m. Eastern, so be ready today when this drops. You probably have about 40 minutes after this video ends. So definitely check out the email. You'll see the full listing of plants there. You know, we've been cheating. You guys are buying so many plants. We've been putting 20 plants on the 10 at 10. So yeah, that's by design. We've been trying to keep it replenished for you there. We greatly appreciate all those people shopping. You've been just so gracious to us this year. Subscribing to the channel and shopping with us on MrMaple.com. Definitely sign up for those emails. Keep coming back for more videos too. We're always adding new content. You know, I apologize, I get several comments every week to our folks, especially in the UK. I had a lady say she cried every week just because she saw some amazing plants that we can't ship to her. So my heart goes out to you. I apologize, but I definitely appreciate you watching the channel.
So I couldn't help but being on the other side of the camera thinking to myself, man, these 2 maples would make an amazing pairing. I mean, they're both great container plants. You got Hana matoi, Filigree. I mean, you have the variegation, the pink, hot pink variegation on this one, that white and green over here. I mean, it's just going to be an amazing pairing. I was sitting there in my mind thinking, 2 nice pots, these 2 trees sitting right there in front of my front porch. It'd look pretty nice.
I was thinking, you know, I bet Brian's gonna be leaving with some of these Hana matois and Filigrees before the 10 at 10. That's what I was thinking, because I saw his eyes thinking on the other side. But the combination is definitely pretty awesome between the Filigree and the Hana matoi for sure. Just the color combinations, and they're both some of the very few selections of variegated lace leaves with that weeping umbrella habit, and they're both fairly slower growing, which make them, like you said, excellent for containers.
Yeah, you know, you get kind of that dwarf form of each as well. You know, that this one may get bigger and over in time, but you can kind of prune that to keep them similar in size. I mean, it would just be an amazing pairing to see these 2 sitting side by side.
Yellow fall color, bright red and pink fall color.
Yeah.
I mean, all throughout the season.
So if you're seeing these on camera, just think about how beautiful that would look sitting on your front porch.
Now, one thing to keep in mind too, whenever you're at 10 a.m. and you've got these plants in your cart, 10:01, think about checking out as soon as you get the plants in that you want in your cart. Sometimes people will start adding to their cart and adding other things to their cart from MrMaple.com to be ready when 10 a.m. hits. Because whenever you add these new plants to your cart, it doesn't hold it for you until you check out. So you can actually do some pre-shopping on Mr. Maple to have some ideas of what you want, and then add these trees from the 10
and
at 10.
we're always increasing numbers too to make it easier. Our goal isn't to make it hard. Our goal is to let you know when the new plants are coming and to continue to increase those numbers you know, we're collectors at heart ourselves, so we know how hard some of these cultivars are to find. So our goal is always to make it as easy as possible to know when the new plants are coming, and also to make bigger numbers so that they're there for you. You know, if you sleep past that 10 a.m. time, some might be sold out. There'll be some really cool stuff for you at 11 though, don't worry.
But make sure to check out as quickly as possible, because adding to cart doesn't hold them for you until they're actually checked out on the website. And we get a lot of people every single week that say, it was in my cart and I was going to check out and it was 10:03. You know, most of the time when they're talking about that, they're talking about a Mystic Macaw or a Hot Blonde. And there may have been over 100 that got listed that day. And just, other people bought them and checked out that quickly. So this is, I don't want to feel like y'all need to rush, but you do need to.
Something you like, do be inclined
to purchase it quicker.
Check out
Exactly.
So that, you know, it's not saved there necessarily. We greatly appreciate you watching. We greatly appreciate you shopping even more. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.